Hello, mellow lunars. Hope you're having a fantastic time, wherever and whenever you may be. Day, night, dusk, dawn, low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me @lovegood, and today I am presenting you with my first podfic ever, which I'm so excited about. The fic is The Unfortunate Issue of Only Discovering You Have a Father After He Takes Over the Fucking Country by Moth MothhMothhMothh on L0v3g. Thank you so much, Moth MothhMothh, for letting me podfic this. I'm so excited. Please, everyone, if you can go give your love to the author of this fic. That is The Unfortunate Issue of Only Discovering You Have a Father After He Takes Over the Fucking Country by Moth MothhMothh on L0v3g. In the description, we'll have the link to the fic and hopefully the link to the permission. If not, then it will be in a screenshot at the end of the video. But, yeah, enough of my rambles and jambles. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get right into the fic. This is the summary. Summary. After taking over Japan, All-For-One attempts to bond with his son. He does not succeed. Or, Midoriya plays catch with All-For-One, but the ball is Shigaraki, and his loser father vaguely attempts to tempt him over to the dark side. Few author's notes before we get into the fic, so I'm going to read them now. Notes. God, I hope this is okay. I've been stuck in the Shadow Realm for decades, reading Murtha fanfic, and unable to finish writing anything. Also, somehow managed to fuck up my wrist again, so that's fun, I guess. I still have one uninjured limb. I'm good. Anyway, hope you enjoy this shit show, and hopefully see you on the other side. See end of work for more notes. So yeah, that's the summary, so we're going to get right into the fic. Midoriya huffed, breathing deeply as he chased after the criminal. Technically, he was the criminal in this situation, given the fact he was currently attempting to arrest All-For-One's favourite underling, but Midoriya was operating solely on the laws before his absolute wanker of a father decided to overthrow the government. He lunged from high ground, tackling Shigaraki to the floor like a flying squirrel, intercepting like a particularly delectable pumpkin seed. Taking the brunt of the fall as usual, Midoriya wasn't exactly trying to hurt Shigaraki, merely stopped the man from reporting his gathered information back to All-For-One while simultaneously maintaining his pacifism to the best of his ability. He did not count any violence towards All-For-One against his aforementioned pacifism, however. He took another breath in futile attempt to cease his panting. Are under arrest. Oh no, Shigaraki responded, face blank. Not again. Midoriya rolled his eyes, carefully attaching his wrists together with a hoodie string and tugging him forwards. Instead of cooperating like a nice semi-hostage, Shigaraki flopped over like a dying fish with an acting degree, dumping almost his entire weight on the teenager with a wry smirk. Midoriya was only able to let out a single alarmed squawk before being thoroughly introduced to the concrete beneath him. Whore, he cursed, and it took a solid 5 minutes for him to wriggle out from underneath Shigaraki, swearing loudly the entire duration. Once he was finally free, he grabbed the criminal's ankles and began the long journey back to base. Midoriya had discovered the police station only a month after All-For-One took over, breaking a window to check if they had any masking tape, to only be greeted with the sight of a rather startled cat person. Both parties in the interaction had shrieked, Midoriya making the small mistake of punching the police officer in the face. After their interesting introduction, Sansa had hastily forgiven Midoriya, if only for the pure upset present on his face amplified by the guilt, and only allowed him to shelter amongst the group. The aforementioned group was unfortunately in small numbers. Sansa, of course, was the first person Midoriya met, shortly followed by an ex-teacher who went by Eraserhead. Midoriya made sure not to react to the name, his inner fanboy narrowly avoiding exploding in excitement. The third person had checked the teenager over and made sure he'd settled in well, and Midoriya was very thankful for Ida to that. After Ida, Midoriya struggled to remember the others' names, instead opting to wait patiently for someone else to refer to someone before even attempting their name. A firm knock rang out the station, and Midoriya barely resisted the urge to roll his eyes, cussed with the identity of the knocker. The group members scuttled to the side as he trudged over to the door, opening it in the same manner he might open the door to their cat, mere moments after opening it the first time to allow the feline into another room. Greeting him on the other side was All-For-One himself, standing in a smug stance with a small collection of restrained criminals behind him in an uncomfortable pile. Midoriya gritted his teeth. "Hello, All-For-One," shutting the door slightly when the criminal attempted to enter. "Izuku-kun, you really should visit more often," he fussed, forcing the door open and engulfing his son in a hug. Midoriya cringed violently, freezing up until he was finally released from the embrace. "I've come to propose a trade," All-For-One stated, grinning widely. "Consider these as my part of the deal." Midoriya sighed, trudging back over to the cell they were keeping Shigaraki. He unlocked it and tugged the man free, practically shoving him at his father. The criminal's smile only grew, stepping to the side, allowing the remaining group access to the apprehended villains. "Lovely doing business with you," he concluded, drifting out the door like an overprivileged swan. Midoriya's phone winced in preparation for the flood of notifications that would soon plague it. The teenager ran upstairs to the upper floor, grabbing his required item from the kitchen before forcing the window open and pitching his beloved toaster directly at his father's head. All-For-One did not dodge, falling dramatically to the ground as if shot. "I love you too, dearest son," he called out before falling through an amethyst portal back to his evil lair. It was not that All-For-One didn't want to spend time with Midoriya, merely that his son's attempts on his life had a tendency to grow more and more extreme the longer he spent with him, and who was All-For-One to attempt to escape them? Sansa opened his arms and allowed Midoriya to scream into his uniform, patting the boy on the back gently. There. Ina managed to create a glitter-filled card titled, "Sorry you didn't commit patricide." Midoriya adored it. Midoriya cursed under his breath, flexing his fist as he slowly strode down the unlit street. He didn't think he usually indulged in late-night walks when stressed, a bold-faced lie even he couldn't pretend to believe, but this was one of the few occasions. His previous walk a few days prior hadn't ended very well, getting into a fistfight with some criminal with a badger quirk. Midoriya still wasn't certain it wasn't a mutated badger that he'd actually fought. The walk before that he'd been briefly kidnapped by his father, and the original walk that had started this troublesome habit had been when he'd found All-For-One leaving a trail of All Might merchandise and discovered that he did, in fact, have a biological male parental figure. All in all, it probably wasn't the best idea, but Midoriya was an independent teenager and wouldn't let negative past experiences colour his impression of his lovely late-night walks. Of course, this was the moment that a man jumped out, immediately attempting to punch Midoriya. Reflexively, the boy kicked the stranger violently between the legs, continued to do so even after the man had crumpled like a piece of damn paper. He took a brief break to catch his breath, during which the man had crawled away hastily, dusting off his hands, even though they were not used during the encounter. Midoriya continued on his journey. He didn't make it much further before he was stopped again, this time by All-For-One gently throwing the unconscious body of the criminal who'd attacked him before towards the teenager. Midoriya blinked once, twice, a third time for luck, before raising a judgmental eyebrow. all for one pulled a face that one might expect from a sad hamster, or perhaps a lost kitten. "Do you not want to join me? I gathered up all the remaining All Might merchandise if you'd like." Midoriya considered for a moment, weighing over the options. Ulfwon's sad expression, however, reminded Midoriya of Sansa, the man he'd grown to view as his actual father, instead of the annoying rodent he was unfortunately biologically related to. "Nah," he responded, picking up the unconscious criminal by his rather fancy boots and beginning to drag him away. His father sighed, tossing a bag of assorted supplies and hero cards to the teenager before trudging away in defeat. Sansa pulled a sour face at the additional criminal that had been gifted to them, but congratulated his son anyway with a pat on the head and a dead computer mouse. Eden made his friend an additional card, this one titled, "Sorry your father stole all the All Might merchandise you don't have." Midoriya carried it around with him like a picture of a deceased loved one. Shigaraki sighed as he was released again, with the sole purpose of finding Midoriya and allowing the child to beat him. At this point, he was considering switching sides. Okay, and that is the end of that fic. There are a few author's notes before we completely conclude this fic, and I shall read them now. Insert dying sounds here. I hope this was okay and slightly enjoyable. Kinda rushed the last part because I have to leave for college in like 15 minutes, and feel free to leave any polite feedback. Anyway, thank you for reading. Remember to drink, eat, take medication if needed, and go the fuck to sleep. Smiley face. Hope to see you next time, but for now, Moth out. And that was the end of the author's notes, so I'm going to get into my own intro now, and then edit and post this, which I'm really excited and nervous about. Yeah, let's get into that, I guess. Anyway. No, hang on. Forgot I put password on that. Anyway, alrighty, my little learners, that is the end of this fic. Now, let's get into my little adaptation of this one. Oh yes, adaptation. We love adaptation. Okay, so this one is short and really funny. I think the funniest parts are probably him dropping a toaster on Ulfwon's head and the imagery of him just flopping like he'd been shot. And I imagine the clunking sound. It would just be like bonk, and then he'd fall. It's like that. Yeah, so anyway. So we have that, and there's not many notes on this one, except from it's amazing, first of all, obviously. And at the end, Shigaraki considering switching sides because he's literally just done with the sole purpose of finding Midoriya and allowing the child to beat him. He's just like, why? Why do I have to do that? But yeah, so that's really funny and I love that. So I think that's it, especially for notes. I don't have many notes on this one, but I absolutely love it and it was funny as hell. The author did an absolutely amazing job. But that's all the notations I have on this one shot. So, my little learners, this is a little reminder that you might have something to do or check. I hope you all have a fantastic time wherever and whenever you may be, day, night, dusk, dawn, low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me @lovegood, and that was the unfortunate issue of only discovering you have a father after he takes over the fucking country by Moth MothhMothhMothh on AO3. Again, please go give your love to that author. Please, please, please use the link in the description to find the fic. I'm going to put the permission screenshot that I took on the screen now. Yeah, that's me. It's not an AO3 account yet, but hopefully it will be soon. It will have the same name. Probably won't have one by the time this is out, but hopefully, it will happen soon. Anyway, again, I've said this so many times, but give your love to the author if you can, because this is my first podfic, this is my first permission ever, and I'm way too excited. It's like I've had a sugar rush. Anyway, again, any improvements that I can make, please do not be afraid to give constructive criticism. And any other notes or any other thoughts or anything else, please go comment down in the comment section, and I will hopefully read and reply to everyone. I definitely will, because I absolutely love interacting, and I will love interacting with you all. Give it a like or maybe subscribe if you can, but it's not a requirement, just enjoy. But yeah, I think that's it. Bye, little learners.